Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and I totally expect for this chat that gets converted into a podcast to be shut down several times. Somebody does not want me to reach the public. This is basically an emergency broadcast, and the fault line that was newly discovered 10 years ago, but that developed on the 20th of September 2001, 9 days after 9/11, that fault line, which science already found 10 years ago, is now trembling and threatening to break again. So there is a potential here for um, earthquakes in New York City, but earthquakes big enough to be able to separate land masses. Now, I said this on Univision News in September after 9/11. And there was an earthquake, October the 20th, 2001, which I had predicted. So I have a history of predictions that come true, particularly when it comes to Mother Earth. Now, the future is elastic and plastic. And at 1 o'clock, I will be with my followers in the Mantrista movement. It's not an organization. That doesn't work today. They get infiltrated, like poor Charlie Kirk's movement got infiltrated because it was an organization. Mine gets infiltrated too, but it's looser. We will be meeting at 1 to stabilize the earth, but I need to give you the information. Nine, and you need to learn this is shamanism, basic shamanism, the original medicine of the planet, the original understanding that holds to today, and apparently also off planet, that if you have the elements balanced, you can be healthy. Your health, your personality, your physical body, your projects, your home, your country. So, what happened on 9/11 that we can learn from? There was the Twin Towers were taken down. Everybody went into a rage. They didn't express it. There was no rioting. There was no expression of the element of fire, which was a natural reaction to what happened. Everybody kind of swallowed it, and they changed laws, and they how god awful, but very civilized. What happened to the element of fire? Mother Earth had to take it on. And 9 days after 9/11, there was a break that created a new fault line that went all the way to England, no, I could feel it because I was in a panic, which I am now also, which is why I'm doing this chat that will be converted into a podcast. My body is shaking. And I was like, okay, what's going on? The earth. So I predicted it on 9/20 after 9/11, October the 20th. There was an earthquake epicenter in New York City. My God, that's never happened. Yes, it actually did happen before. Do you know when it happened? It happened, I think, 5 weeks after the results of the elections, Bush Gore. And New York City was Democratic and they were in a rage. And then, epicenter, New York City. Nobody even remembers that because it was very mild. And the second one was after 9/11, and there's going to be one, but there's already a fault line now. Therefore, it, I believe, will separate land masses. Now, this was predicted centuries ago, but it's preventable. The future is elastic and plastic. We create it every second. So just start everybody that you know, tell them to visualize all of the state of New York, but particularly New York City, with a huge chunk of ice, and visualize New York, the city and the state, underneath a waterfall. But I think you also have to visualize Washington, D.C. You need to cool it down, do visualizations to cool it down, because I'm sure they're in a rage in Washington with what happened with the elections. You see, it's not a question of right and wrong at all. It's a question of a balance of the elements. Shamanism, if you apply it, you can be master of your destiny, of your physical body health, your mental health, your home, your country, your politics. But we have not been allowed that information. The people that have that information, that play with the weaponization of weather, they're not going to let you have that because that gives you all the power that you need to be master of your destiny on planet Earth. And also, now that the aliens are coming in, So we have New York City with an earthquake. I don't know if it was 4 to 6 weeks after the Gore Bush results, not the election, the results. Then we have an earthquake 4 to 6 weeks after 9/11. It happened on October 20, which I predicted on September 20 because I had a panic attack like what I'm having now since an hour ago. Then we had an earthquake in New Jersey. And I said, well, let's find out who is in a rage. Well, it was, I believe, in Bergen County. And I believe we tracked it back to the Cuban cartel. Okay. And yesterday I put up a map and I'm going to put it up again. This is not a question of blame. This is a question of pinpointing where the energies are so strong that they can literally break Mother Earth. So this is what I put up yesterday, the map of the United States. You know what? The map I put up of the United States does not show, and I don't have it here. It's all the way over there, therefore we're not going to be able to see it now. But I circled Essex County, and I said, this is the map I put up. I didn't put up the one. Interesting. I circled Essex County. Who's in Essex County? A member of the Cuban cartel. Now, did they purposely? Are they doing this? No, but they got to be in a rage. And all I did was circle it and say, you need to watch this area because it's potential for not great stuff. And I did that when I mapped the Caribbean. And with hurricane, I don't remember the name of the hurricane, and I circled Puerto Rico and I said, watch Puerto Rico. There's something going on. And yes, there was something going on because within days, there's a part of Puerto Rico that there cannot be any airplanes flying over. It's totally shut down. So there's something going on in Essex that needs to be looked into. But that is just for interesting stuff, gossip, whatever. What's important is to cool down. You know what? And I did not sketch how big an area you need to cool down, but I believe it's New York City. I have the map here. Let me sketch it quickly. And New York City is totally cursed. I think there were like 17 X's on New York City. Why is that map not there? Darn. Let me see if I can get it up for you to see it again today, because my chat yesterday was interfered with. And we've had an awful lot of helicopters going over where I live. I was going to say home. I don't live in a home. I live in a very small apartment. I'm in voluntary confinement. Give me a second while it loads. And here we go. This is the map from yesterday, New York City. Yesterday at 12 noon. You see all those X's over Manhattan? That's black magic. And this map does not show it because it's cut off. But I have a circle around Bergen County. So I looked up who lives there, politicians, and it is the son, I believe, of the Cuban cartel member, Menendez, who's in jail. So maybe it's not him. So who is there that we should be watching at this point? I don't know. You need to do that kind of homework. Okay. I delivered the message. Now it's up to everybody, and at 1 o'clock, we will be working on icing down that area, which means that if we are effective, there will not be an earthquake. But there's still a liability, there's still a vulnerability, which is that new fault line that science found, and it was in the news around 10 years ago, but it formed 2001 after 9/11. So that fault line is still there, but if we can cool down the rage the additional rage Mother Earth needed to take on, we can prevent an earthquake. So if it doesn't happen, it's not that Francis Fox is not a good psychic. Is that Francis Fox And the Mantrista movement did a really good job at reducing the rage. Now, remember, New York City has been called the city of hate for over 10 years because my group has been working on trying to reduce the fire for at least 5 years. When we discovered it, when I sketched and I went, whoa, New York it was just one big blob of red. Can you imagine now? They're talking about real estate prices in Texas and Florida because of everybody who's in a rage and is going to leave New York City. Okay, well, everybody should do whatever it is that they need to do. The problem is not that. The problem is the repressed anger, people not running around killing everybody, and not everybody's going to run around killing everybody. It's the nice people that don't express and process their repressed fire that that requires that Mother Earth take it on. So I was looking at some of the news on X. Okay, and there was a statement. Somebody is upset because of who won in New York. And he was saying that the Islamic invaders outbreed the United States. Well, you know what? If you hadn't allowed all that disinformation on cannabis, one of its most known positive side effects is good sex and more sex. Chinese medicine recommends it for 2,000 years for couples. Oh no, but we had to make it illegal with disinformation and lies about cannabis being the fruit of the devil, whereas cannabis reduces fire, which is the fruit of the devil. Cannabis is not the fruit of the devil. Cannabis reduces the fruit of the devil. If we had been allowed cannabis, Trump, there would be more babies being born and everybody would be happier. Maybe less people signing up to be soldiers because it reduces aggression. But that's okay because we've already started 200 and some wars across the planet, the United States military. Maybe we don't want to do that anymore. When the Iraqi war started, before we really found out that everything was a lie, that they said the reasons why we had to invade Iraq were a lie, I said, don't go to war, just airdrop marijuana. Well, you can visualize cannabis plants growing in New York City. Please do that. If there's an earthquake in New York City with a fault line that's been there since 2001 and with the predictions from 100, 200 years ago about land masses separating in the New York area, if that happens, we're not going to be worried about illegal aliens and all the other stuff and who killed Charlie Kirk. We're not going to be worried about that because we're going to have something much bigger on our hands. So, Islamic invaders outbreed the United States? Maybe we need to get the correct information to the public on a sacred herb. Who should God intended that herb shine now because we need it so desperately? And to hell with the old fuddy-duddies. What do I mean by fuddy-duddy? It's not an age thing because I'm old. Fuddy-duddy is somebody who doesn't have the ability to change, who can be given new information. It just takes them too long. No, I don't know. No. I did not try marijuana until maybe 7 years ago because somebody that I respect said, try this. I just said, don't tell my daughter. That was all I said. I will, but don't tell my daughter. I learned a lot from the first time I smoked it. I don't feel any different when I smoke it. In the moment, I feel more relaxed as the day goes by. Certainly my digestion gets a lot better. But the truth about cannabis needs to get out there because it addresses the biggest issue on the planet today, which is global warming. And excess fire element is the basis for violence. So as quickly as we can get it out there, get it out there. And my friend Elon Musk, he needs it. Not because he looks bad, he's looking great, but he needs it because of the level of stress he's under and working with all the electronics which radiate the fire element. And you're worried about the Islamics outbreeding the United States? Then maybe that should be the number one excuse for making, not rescheduling an herb that's like parsley, removing all restrictions. Now, and forget about all the industries that built their companies on controlling the sale of cannabis. To hell with all of them. We need to save society, not certain businesses and not anything having to do with the dollar. The fact that the Islamics outbreed us is a big issue, but it's a big issue because we're going to have population collapse. I'm not going to go on and on about that. I'm not sure I want to continue to speak. This was an emergency broadcast. Please get this out to everybody. This is basic shamanism. The balance of the elements, what the Ayurvedic doctors, 5,000 years of documented medicine, Chinese medicine, 2,000 years of medicine, what they have always used. But today it's even more important. By the way, in Chinese medicine, in acupuncture, there are 33 meridians that are called ghost points, and they are for spirits. Guess what? Spirits come in when there's too much fire. So if you take marijuana, whether you smoke it or whether you ingest it, you're reducing fire. You're less susceptible to spirit invasion. Guess what? Cannabis gently opens veils to other dimensions, which was my experience the first time I tried them. And I could see that I had 4 legs, 2 physical legs and 2 astral legs, and they were not working together. So it was like an auto diagnosis. I need to slow down. So you have issues that you can't sleep at night and there's something going on and your head feels funny. Cannabis is going to help you dramatically. And you can use our sensory music videos, which have the 420 frequency of cannabis. It's free. And it's on my new website, which should be operational today or tomorrow, called Frances Fox Cannabis, which is also the book I just put up. It's on Amazon, whatever. I'm not here to promote. I'm here to educate so that we can get back down to basics and not have to go through what we're going to have to go through if there is an earthquake under New York City. Okay? Signing off now. My name is Frances Fox, and we do convert this into a podcast on Spotify and on Apple. Thank you for listening. Please share the remedy. I'm not here just to give gossip or just to give shocking information. I'm offering you the remedy. I'm telling you that you, as an individual, you don't have to have any money in the bank. You don't have to have anything. With your mind, which is how reality is created, visualize the entire New York State, particularly New York City, iced down.